All right, my brother's getting his coffee. We are going live. Get everything set up here in just a second.
All right.
We are live, so I was able to get it
live?
going. Yeah. What in the world, man? That was the weirdest thing, wasn't it?
It's very weird.
Having a little technical difficult. You know what?
What?
Everything is going crazy today.
Oh no.
It didn't pop up with the deal for me to enter the details. Restream be glitching on today.
Uh-oh.
Are we live? Are we live? We're live. It says we're live.
Let me see.
Okay, here's what's weird. You ready for this?
Yeah.
It just oh, I see what it did. It just auto-filled last week's.
No way.
Yep. What
Yeah,
in
we're
the
live.
world?
It's got a picture of my empty chair.
All right, let me edit this here. Sorry, y'all. Oh man, that didn't work.
There it goes. It goes live. Look here. Yeah, we're live. It's got a picture of my empty chair.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right. So I'm editing the post now. I don't know what in the world, man. It's acting crazy today.
Wouldn't it be funny if it was close enough that I could say, I'd be like, test 1, 2, 3, test 1, 2, 3, test 1, 2, 3.
I'm editing the post now. I don't know what in the world, man. It's acting crazy today.
Wouldn't it be funny if it was close enough that I could say, I'd be like, test 1, 2, 3, test 1, 2, 3, test 1, 2, 3, test.
This is
People
high
like,
quality.
I don't, yeah.
High quality content happening this morning.
Hey,
Holy
you
cow.
just watch us play around with it.
Dude, this is unbelievable. So we
one way to unglitch something is to over glitch it.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Just inundate it with craziness, huh?
Yep. Yeah. That's what that's what I watched this video, this great commentary on how that one particular government organization that that one secret government organization that they created the word conspiracy. So that the word conspiracy would allow people to not believe, to create unbelief, to create a veil of suspicion of the unbelievable.
I like it.
A veil of suspicion concerning the unbelievables. That just sounds.
They knew what they were doing.
And then they said, and then so then that they could actually behind that veil do the unbelievable.
Ooh,
like HARP, and all that stuff that they talk about. Like they're like, we're not doing anything with HARP. It's just it's a science experiment. Like, well, it's a science experiment about changing the weather. Of course, it's a science experiment. That's a conspiracy theory. So that we could have a veil of unbelievability, so that behind it we can do the unbelievable.
So what you're saying is you've gone full tinfoil hat. You're all in.
Well, absolutely, my cup. I'm drinking my coffee out of the tinfoil cup, bro.
Maybe we should talk about conspiracies today. That'd be a good conversation.
Yeah, Conspiracy Tuesday. Today our guest is Robert Kennedy Jr. I want to give a minute and talk about.
Oh, no.
What? What? People imitate Trump.
You're gonna get us banned, bro. You're gonna get us so banned.
No, the left hates him now. We would only get banned.
That is true.
No, we'd only get banned if he was still their political centerfold. Like, what I'm saying? Not in that kind of way. I'm just
Oh, man.
Not in a not in a, you know, like
No, right, right,
it's
right.
yeah.
Yeah, we know. We know what you meant.
No, he's now the no, he's the political toilet paper now.
Oh, my word. I don't there's no words. I've got nothing. I just have nothing today on
Yeah,
that. Woo.
look, unindoctrinated and unindoctrinate Ryan. Oh, that's okay, cool, yeah, way to go, man. I like that. See, Ryan?
Is his name Ryan or
Yeah,
Nate?
Ryan. See, unindoctrinated,
Mm.
unindoctrinated. See? See
Mhm.
the thing?
Mhm.
And see, I love it. See, to be unindoctrinated, because what's the difference between a conspiracy and the truth? About 6 months. Hello,
Blank check.
hello. You know
It
what was
is
so cool
true.
though?
That is a true statement.
Yesterday, they were talking about this is awesome. A former either director of health and human services or CDC or whatever was talking about, look, let's just be honest. I mean, the whole idea of, you can trust the government, you could trust doctors and whatever. Like this is them talking yesterday
Okay.
on the Brian Kilmeade show. They were talking about, I mean, let's be honest. We told them that you get the COVID vaccine, you won't get COVID. And they said,
Mhm.
well, so you get the COVID vaccine, you do whatever you want to do, go wherever you want to do. And
Knowing
they
that
said,
that wasn't true.
right. Then they said, well, actually, you can you can still get it, but you can't transfer it to someone.
Yeah.
It won't be the load of it won't be enough that you're not going to be um, what's the word viral, but
Contagious.
contagious. And so then it was, well, you're going to get it and you could probably pass it on, but it's not going to be as bad. And they're like,
Right.
okay, but you started with you won't be able to get it. And now
And
it's like,
then
well, you get it and you could pass it on. Well, so basically what you're telling me is the only reason that I'm getting it is that I won't die.
yeah.
And this person was basically as a former big, I mean, whatever. Like it wasn't it's conspiracy Tuesday. It was them saying, yeah, I mean, no wonder they don't trust us. We got a little bit of trust to build back, and you can say what you want to say, but it's our own fault.
This is actually a fascinating conversation. I think it's can be relatable, but like exactly, the whole conversation about that, the whole conversation about ivermectin,
Yeah,
you call it a horse dewormer.
yeah,
It's clearly not. Ivermectin's been used for a long time,
yeah,
and you came out and acted like, you were some whack job because you were gonna use ivermectin. That was one thing. I saw yesterday a conversation, and it was not conservative group. It was a left-leaning group,
uh-huh,
and they were talking about, all of this talk about Trump being Hitler and a fascist and all that kinda stuff. And then how now, like, they're kind of embracing, and they're like, people wonder why the public is skeptical of mainstream media. They're skeptical of all these things that are being communicated because clearly all you're trying to do is to manipulate people into a certain feeling or belief or whatever. You don't really believe that. And so then what happens is you create question on the other side. Well, what else are they lying to me about? What
yeah.
else are they making up or
Well,
saying?
remember when, yeah, and then that's the thing when like hydrochloroquine. Remember that?
Yeah.
And they
Right.
were like, "Oh, that's dumb. That's not even. It doesn't even. It's not this. It's not malaria. It's not going to work. Whatever." And then you look at the post-COVID map of the world,
Yeah.
and you find how many people ratio, like one out of however many people that got it. And you look at places like where malaria is like a really big deal, like the hot spots for malaria.
Yeah.
And where like the rest of the world was like, say 1 in 10 got it or 1 in 5, they were like 1 in 100.
Wow.
And you're like,
Wow. Okay, there might be something to that.
right. And I'm
Might be
just
something
saying,
to
like,
that.
I'm just saying, like, oh, there you go, conspiracy. You're communicating. No, I'm just simply saying you're saying follow the science. I'm just saying, can you explain that chart to me?
Right. Right.
Well, black people in Africa aren't as susceptible to, oh, you racist, you. black people in Africa aren't as susceptible to COVID? Wow. So you're saying that there's something different about the DNA of my goodness, that is so racist. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm just using their argument back at them.
Right. I hear you. Oh, man. All right, why don't you give us a weather report?
Good morning, brothers. This is from Chief Meteorologist Ken Bistarky saying happy belated birthday to Brother Chris from the news center. Light
Thank you, I
rain,
appreciate that.
54 degrees, high of 59 today in Northeast Ohio. It's not going to warm up much from where it is. That rain is going to keep the sunshine away and keep the temperature about where it's at.
There you go. Appreciate that. Okay. Desmond coming in with some philosophy.
Yeah. Desmond, I'm serious. Here's the deal. Desmond Cassidy said, one of my biggest fears in life is watching it go by without it ever really starting. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. That's got to be philosophical because a person who is an absolute pragmatist would look at it and say, well, if you're watching your life, it's probably started. But it's like, no, this is philosophical. This isn't
philosophical.
Yeah, we're not talking
He's in the right place. He's in the right place because this is
Yes.
we can engage that kind of a conversation, right?
Well, and the thing about it is, by the way, those of you that might be the first time on here, this is not a podcast of conspiracy theory, and we also we
We're
also
dropping
use
viewers like crazy, I'm
Yeah.
noticing.
we use a high we use a high level of sarcasm. There's a high level of sarcasm that goes on in our podcast. So
Yeah. All right, we better get rolling before we lose more people. Hey, do us a favor, get the word out. We had some technical difficulties getting started this morning. So hopefully, Ken, we don't have any problems during the recording here when we get started in just a moment. But do us a favor, go on to Facebook and share it, and go on X and repost it or whatever they call it now. We are on Instagram, so everything is up and running.
I
Looks
think
like
they
we're
call
doing
it
good.
I think they call it remusket now.
Is that what it is?
They remusket.
That's awesome.
Musk.
I like it. That's what they should call it. All right, you ready to go?
Let's do it.
Let's rock and roll today. I do have a little bit of a cutoff time today.
Do you?
A little bit.
11.
A little bit.
We got a 21-minute podcast.
For real. I should be good. I've got an appointment this afternoon, so.
And the thing about it is they say, like 21 minutes. We have 21 minutes of good content, regardless of how long the show goes.
Exactly. That's about exactly right. That is exactly right.
Yes.
All right. Let's rock and roll. Let's get it going today.
All right. Okay.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mobilized Church Podcast. This is Chris Dillingham, alongside my big brother Ken Dillingham, Jr. the Third, on this beautiful November day. I say beautiful. It's not. Here's the deal. Any day that there's not snow, it's not freezing rain, it's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, it's a good day today.
Oh, you came on saying this is the day. I mean, that you came on singing that praise and worship.
Is that right? Forgot that part. It's been an interesting morning already today. So hopefully we had a little technical difficulty. So hopefully that's behind us. We got that squared away now. We're all good. We're moving forward. So it's gonna be a great day today. And we got some comments already coming in, and we appreciate people that are engaged and a part of this conversation. And I feel like today's gonna be a good one, Ken.
I think
If the pre-show is any indication, it might get a little cray-cray.
It might get a little crazy. And you know what? Here's the deal. Listen,
Tell me the deal.
Just understand that, a little bit of levity, a little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of laughter, a little bit of truth told in jest.
It never hurt anybody.
Never hurt a soul.
It's gotten us in trouble a couple times, but other than that,
Robert Kennedy Jr. is not going to. He's not going to ban comedy. He's just going to ban Monsanto poisoning our water.
Oh man, for real. Get your Fruit Loops and Doritos while you can.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Fruit
get your
Loops, Skittles, and Doritos.
enjoy your Fruit Loops. Yeah.
Fruit
Fruit
Loops.
Roop Fruit
They're gonna
that's
rename it. They're gonna rename it to Fruit Loops.
Hey, it's yes, that was Shaggy. "Hey, Scooby, have you had your Fruit Loops yet?"
Zoinks.
"Zoink, Shaggy." Oh, no, Shaggy wouldn't be talking back to himself. Yeah.
That would be
"Zoink,
Scooby Dooby Doo.
zoink, Scooby." Um, uh, yeah, the Fruit Loops and a brainworm. You need those things.
My God. There you go. All right. Well, on that note, it's we've had a couple of moments today already that
This is gonna be good, though.
it could have gotten us in trouble, but here we are. We're here. We're ready
No,
to
for real.
rock and roll today.
Hey, we have already been we've already been in here saying, "Look, let the truth prevail. Let
Yeah.
let don't let don't let overt or covert racism have any right? Like,
100%.
overt or covert racism has no place in the kingdom. Truth prevails in the kingdom. That's man, that has been the message that we've been chemtrailing the the our podcast with today.
Oh, oh my word. Oh my word. You're doing everything you can to trigger this
I know.
morning, aren't you? You're trying so hard.
It's like,
Oh man.
how did this podcast get shadow banned? Well, I don't know. Is it something that you said in the first, second, third, fourth,
Bro,
fifth
who
minute?
knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? I will say this, I think we're seeing pendulum action or pendulum theory in action right now,
Yeah.
because you've had that kind of like the over political correctness stuff or
Yeah.
whatever,
Mhm.
and I mean, you gotta give a little bit of credit to comedy
Right.
that has basically
Who wouldn't
said,
back
like,
down?
they're like, "Go ahead, Dave Chappelle, go ahead and
Yeah.
cancel me. Good
Cancel
luck
me.
with that, try."
Yeah.
And so not that we're comparing ourselves to Dave Chappelle, but I'm just saying, like,
Yes.
truth tellers, that's what we're here for,
Exactly.
to be truth tellers.
You're Chappelle-esque.
So let's tell some truth today. What do you say?
Let's be the let's be the bearers of good news and truth.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's get after the topic today. We got a good one. We got a couple different directions we were kind of bouncing around talking about what we're gonna do. One of the things I love about this, Ken, and we both do it in our churches. You've got life talks, we've got first things, and one of the things we try to model in those conversations, like sometimes, well, I say sometimes, occasionally we'll have like a clear, we're gonna kind of go this route and ask these questions. These are the
Mhm.
things we want to get to. But most of the time, it's kind of just a conversation. And even if we have a plan, it's
Yeah.
just a launching point, and then it just becomes a conversation because
Right.
we wanna do that. And we do that a lot here, where we'll have maybe even a couple different ideas and thoughts of what we're wanting to do, but we wanna just model, how important and how really easy it is
Yeah.
just to have a conversation about the important topics of life,
That's 100% true.
right?
So, so true. That's man, that is so true. And I think I think that if, really people that tune into the podcast, it's not that there's any great wisdom sometimes that is communicated. It's like we're not communicating a message that says we've got it figured out. We're just simply saying, hey, let's make some observations together, right? Let's make some observations together. And as we make those observations, let's observe the things that have have worked in every time, every era, and every generation, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like when we talk about like the missional things, we
Yeah.
say, there's certain principles that have worked regardless of the time, regardless of, if it was the first century or if it's the 21st century, and it works. All we have to do is figure out how to contextualize it. And so I think sometimes those conversations allow us to stumble into the hidden truths.
Man, that's so good. I love that. I love that. I think
Yeah.
today's gonna be one of those conversations. And so let's just get this kicked off. And I'll let you maybe share the story just a little bit of what we wanna talk about. And I'll just say this. So kind of the idea and the topic is being kingdom tour guides. What does it mean to be a kingdom tour guide?
Yeah.
And I think this can be a really helpful conversation for a lot of people because, the idea of leading somebody from the beginning of their faith journey, from the moment they start this walk with God, all the way through, um, mature spiritual formation in
Right.
them, like, the idea I mean, that can be a very daunting idea, very daunting task, especially for most people, and some of it's the way that we viewed it and whatever,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people sometimes miss out on the amazing process of being a part and watching God transform somebody's life because of
Yeah.
just that intimidation factor or whatever. So maybe just kinda set it up today, about what it looks like, what it means, and what we're talking about being kingdom tour guides.
Yeah. So, a lot of times when you go to places that, let's say you're interested in, I don't, Yellowstone
Yeah,
State Park, or let's say you're interested in, the Grand Canyon or whatever, right? Whatever.
yeah,
You think about explorers in the early days of the United States, the Louisiana Purchase, Lewis and Clark, exploration, going to find places, the whole idea of manifest destiny. All of those kinds of things are
yeah.
communicate that there are places that you're unfamiliar with that other people have familiarized themselves with.
Okay.
Lewis and Clark basically, man, they went up and down rivers. They they traced their pathways, the passages, where how could you, where is, and really what they were doing was they weren't really, Lewis and Clark wasn't really trying to map out like we're going to create a perfect map.
Yeah,
They created a map around this principal idea. This is the way you navigate from here to here.
right.
This is I mean, you could get on a boat in and come from, say, Chicago, and you could come down this river and it comes across and you could hit the Mississippi River over here and blah 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 blah. And as it goes down, um, as it goes down to these various places, this is the way that you can get from here to here and you can cross there and so on. It was, and really what they were doing is Lewis and Clark, although they were explorers,
Yeah,
they served a role. Primarily, they served a role to help the the uh the exploitation,
yeah,
to exploit the possibilities beyond where people had already settled in the United States. There was possibility, there was potential, and people had they'd settled to the coast, the eastern coastline of the United States, the eastern border states, and now they're saying there's a whole land out there, and we're going to help you figure out how to navigate that and get there and so forth. So whether you're talking about that or whether you're talking about just going to, Yellowstone or the Grand Canyon or whatever, tour guides are people that have familiarized themselves with a place with which you may be unfamiliar, that
yeah,
they can walk you through and show you and say, hey, look over here, check this out, be careful for that, don't turn that rock over, we got rattlesnakes here, those kinds of things. And I think when we talk about kingdom tour guides,
yeah.
my bro,
I
how
love that.
crazy, huh?
I love
Kingdom
that
tour
idea.
guides, like we've become familiarized with some of these places as we have journeyed, and now we're going to bring other people along, and we're going to wear the lanyard, with our
Yeah,
name on it and whatever, and people are going to know and say, hey, So what's to see here?
Right. I love that. There's so many different, like, examples that are kind of running through my mind right now, um, today, as the recording, it's Tuesday, November 19th. Yesterday was my 52nd birthday,
Mhm.
and, you know, once you kinda reach this age, Ken, you always get the question like, "Man, what's it feel like to be 52?" or whatever, and it's weird. It's a weird feeling, like, I don't feel 52. I don't know what you're
Yeah,
supposed to feel like and whatever,
yeah,
but one of the things I love about being 52
yeah,
is I've had some experiences and stuff, whatever, and the things that used to freak me out when I was 22 or
yeah,
32,
yeah.
it doesn't affect me, it doesn't bother me, and hopefully one of the things that I wanna do at 52 is to share my experiences with other people so
That's
that they
good,
can
man.
kinda, navigate through that and whatever, and so, Desmond wished me a happy birthday. Thank you, Desmond, I appreciate that,
Yeah.
and,
You know what you need to throw them a curveball though, and somebody next time somebody asks you, "What's it feel like to be 52?" Just say, "It feels like an orange." What
something random,
what does that mean? I don't know.
and then just walk away. Feels like
Yeah.
an orange. Feels like an orange. Oh, man. Uh, but there's so many, like, different examples. I was thinking about, like, when we go play golf,
Mhm.
at where you golf,
Yeah.
if we go to your club and, when we play, you're all the time like, "Hey," I think about
Yeah.
the one hole where you told
Yes.
me to putt.
Hole number that's dude, that's hole number 11.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying before you even say it.
And you're like, "Put it here," or where you think it's gonna go, and it clearly was breaking. I feel like it was left to right is
Yes,
where
it
I
was.
putted,
Yes, it was.
and so I hit it, and instead of breaking right, it literally broke like 20 feet to the left, the complete opposite,
Yeah.
and so,
And you
when we're
didn't
on the
believe me.
I totally can believe.
I said, "Put 5 to 6 feet right of the hole." And you're like, "Nah,
There's
that's
no way.
you're
There's
trying
no
to."
way.
I mean, you may win, but you don't have to throw me off like,
For
right?
real, for real. But
But it did because what how did I know?
yeah, you've hit that shot many times.
Yeah.
You know where to put the spot, where to put the ball to get in the right spot to hit it and whatever. So sharing that. And then I was thinking about, like, even with what we do, the Mobilized Church podcast, the reason we do this, the reason we do the Mobilized Church Network is, one of the things we're big about is, like, we're not the experts. We don't have all the answers. We don't we're not church growth gurus or anything like that. All we want to do is we want to share the experiences we've gone through
Yeah.
to hopefully help people to avoid, maybe some of the pitfalls and mistakes that we've made.
Right.
But more importantly, that's a part of it. That's a detail of it. But the more important thing is to show the things that we've learned and the things that we've experienced as a part. And bro, there's nothing like that, man. There's nothing
Right.
like that when you've got the experience. And so I think people oftentimes miss out on one of the greatest joys and experiences that you can have, by not personally being engaged and watching somebody, it's like being a parent, watching your kid grow and,
Yeah.
taking their first steps and doing all those kinds of things. Like, man, there's so much joy in watching that, and I think people, because of fear and intimidation, and because of the I hate to use this term, but kind of the system that we've set up for the process has made people feel like I'm inadequate. There's no way that I can do that. And the question just really ultimately is, have you been on your own faith journey? Have you grown in your walking relationship with God? And how can you share that experience with others that might help and affect them in their walking journey?
Wow, man, that's so good. That's so good. And I think like some great engagement today, Brother Colbreth, saying, spreading the love here. And I love he said, he's seen it. I've seen it before and he's done it. Like he does a lot of like seminars and stuff like that. He does great seminars on being engaged on mission, how to teach Bible studies,
It's
things like
awesome,
that.
man. Love it.
and
Beautiful.
and that those are the type of people that I like to ask, what is your favorite story of someone who you know, that you realized that it's so much more than just sitting down, becoming the dispenser
Mm,
of the information they need to know.
yeah,
Like how boring would it be for both the tour guide and the people on the tour
yeah,
if the tour guide just simply saw themselves as sort of monotone sitting here. If you look to the right, you're gonna find
right.
what's it called? Snowshoe hare, you know?
Snowshoe hare.
Yes, you'll see on the right, it's the one of the largest snowshoe hares that you'll find east of the Rockies,
That's
you know?
amazing.
And you're like, "So what's" I mean, but, you know, just I'm just here to point out the stuff and then give you the information about it and, you know, whatever. If you have a good
Yeah,
time, it's up to you. But, like, I like to ask people that have been involved, like him, uh, with this kind of thing. Like, what is your favorite story of someone that you're engaged with them, you're realizing like, man, I'm kind of like a kingdom tour guide. Like there's a lot about this journey that they don't understand. And there's no way that I can communicate all the information they need to know.
yeah,
All I can do is acquaint them with some core principles and truths and then continue to do life with them and point things out along the way. That's what a tour guide does. And
yeah.
point things out along the way that just continues to blow their mind in as much that they're realizing that Jesus is the better way.
Man, it's so good. I was thinking about have you ever done oh man, I can't remember the name of what it's called now. I think it's changed, but the basically the top bus tours or whatever, like
Yeah,
in
yeah,
New
yeah.
York City
Yeah,
and
right.
what have you. And so, like, the thing that makes those things awesome is obviously, like the first time you ever you go to Manhattan, you go to Times Square, whatever, like, man, you're just blown away by all of the things going on around you. But on these tours, the thing that makes it amazing is that person that is just super engaged.
Right,
There's a lot of stuff to see. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could spend days on that bus and
right.
still not see everything. And so what do? They try to highlight and bring out the things that are, most important. And one of the things that makes that tour either amazing or just kind of blah is definitely what the tour guide, are they passionate? Are they excited about it? Are they engaged with it? And the other thing that I love is when they start engaging with people to find out like what are the important things that you have or that you're looking for or whatever, that's what makes it awesome. And I
Mhm.
think I think, man, you make a great point. I think sometimes, like, the dispenser of information piece,
Yeah,
I think sometimes we view it as like, "Okay, we're on this tour. You gotta know this. Here's this doctrine. Here's this theology. Here's
yeah,
this." And
yeah,
it's real, like, cold and
yeah,
sterile,
yeah.
but
Like,
but
here's
the
the stuff you need to know.
but the kingdom, bro, is so much more amazing and awesome and like like if w so starting out, let's go back. What makes an awesome tour guide? Personal experience.
Yeah,
If you're disconnected from it, there's no way you're gonna be able to lead somebody in it. You've
yeah,
got to be the disciple before you can lead somebody in that journey.
right. Like, I like, why do you do why are you a river raft tour guide at the Grand Canyon? Which, by the way, right, can be was it Colorado River, right?
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, dude, because do you realize that there are spots that it's like a mile from where we are out of here? Like, do you realize that these are some of the most dangerous rapids in the world? Do you realize that this is, in other words, the person that's doing it is like, are you kidding? I'll never forget the first time I rode down, I rafted down this. I'll never forget the first whitewater journey that I took down this. And now every single day I get to take people for the first time. I
Yeah.
get to, right. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And they're like, you kidding me? How could you not love this job?
Right.
Well, you could not love it if you don't love rafting. You could not love it if you don't love the Grand Canyon.
Right.
You could,
Yeah.
and I think that's the thing. And what to me, like, do you remember what was it called? Thunder River
Thunder
at
River.
Six Flags?
Yeah, Six Flags St. Louis, absolutely, Thunder River.
And there was a guy that was there was a you go down it the Thunder River deal and you go down it and they've got this like this guided tour thing and here's the wagon and it's got, the wagon broke down and
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, no. Thunder River was the raft deal, but there was another one. I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah,
The there was a wagon that fell off, and the
Ken,
joke was,
Kenny Rogers.
"You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel." I
That's
remember
it.
that.
That's what I'm saying, bro. You
Bro,
remember
I was probably what?
you're like 5.
I remember that plain as
He's like,
day.
yeah, and that this is where Kenny Rogers wrote the song. You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel. Yeah. And you remember it. And I think
Yeah.
you know, I think that's the thing that's so beautiful and just real briefly, I had a great lunch with someone yesterday who mentioned to me that there was a disciple making couple and they were talking about X groups and stuff like that. And his wife said, "Is that what you're doing with us?" And I hope they're listening, because it's really cool. They said, "Yeah, kind of." And so they left, and he was telling me that his wife said to him, "You can't tell me that they don't get paid to do this. Like they're probably getting paid, I mean, why would somebody spend all this time and go, out to dinner and hang out with people and stuff like that? I mean, they're probably getting paid to do this, like it was like they were professional
Part of their
disciple makers,
job, yeah.
right? This is part of their job. This is part of their job description. That's why they're doing this." And they're like, "No." He's like, "No, no, they don't." He's like, "Just let me promise you, you win you win your first, or you bring your first person to the Lord, walk with them along life, go through the journey. You'll get addicted, and it's all you'll want to do." And I think that's the thing where, man, like I think people intrinsically know that church growth, people that want church growth,
Yeah.
will spend time with you to give you
Mm,
the information you need so that you can get into church.
mm,
They'll spend the time that you need to give you the truth and to get in the water, to get baptized, to get the Holy Ghost, to do all that stuff. And and then it's like, okay, all right, I'm gonna be on to my next one. And it's
yeah,
like that relationship sort of just kind of is like, okay, I gotta go get this next one. And but basically this idea is no, 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 no. The sacrifice that you're making helps the disciple that you're discipling understand like the difference of the value system of the kingdom.
mm,
Like, why would they do that? Which
yeah,
is what we talked about in the past. For those of you that have listened to the podcast for some time, this is what we've talked about when we said living questionable lives.
yeah,
That this person was like, there's no other explanation about except that they're getting paid to do this.
yeah,
And it's like, except that they must love us and that this may be the most exciting thing in the world to be a kingdom tour guide leading people down this road for the first time. You know what I mean? Like there's
yeah,
nothing like it. And it's like, wow,
yeah, the difference.
what kind of value system would make a person want to do this? Like, yeah, right. It's the difference between, because in the world value system is, well, I'll do it if there's something for me. The
Yeah,
kingdom value system is like, I got meat to eat that you know not of. It's like, what? I need to know more about this. And it's like,
yeah,
okay, let the journey begin.
yeah, yeah, the difference between, like, so I'm thinking, like, the contrast, like, the difference between a tour guide and a salesperson,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 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 Right.
Sometimes we viewed the mission as being, like, really good, church salespeople, and
Mm,
and so then it becomes, "Okay, how do I convince them this is what they need? This is what they whatever." That I mean, again, you feel like an object in
yeah.
that, you know?
Read Gary's last statement.
Yeah, transactional versus transformational,
That's it.
100%. It's exactly what it feels like. It's a
If it's
transaction.
transactional, the person feels like an object.
Yeah. But when you're walking alongside somebody and you're showing them, the amazing things that when we talk about, like, a kingdom tour guide, we're talking about all of the things that are available. Yes, there are things that you need to do. Brother Colbert mentioned about, I love this comment. My first helicopter ride in the Army is
Yeah.
unforgettable in '83. No one told me how to fasten the seat belts. Everybody assumed I already knew how. Bro, that's awesome. That is a great story,
Dude,
bro. That is
bro,
so
he's
right.
like he's like, "I'm fixing to fall out of this bird.
Can you imagine? Like,
I'm fixing to fall out of this thing,
right?
man."
Can you imagine? Everybody just
Golly.
automatically assumes that you've had that experience, that you know that. And so, part of Kingdom Tour Guides is being aware, knowing what's going on, knowing the risks. Like, dude, my man getting on the helicopter and not fastening the seatbelt, like put him at risk. It's not trying to sell him on
Mhm.
the value of the helicopter and the importance of the helicopter. It's showing him things are going on. So I think like sales is one thing. The other thing I think that sometimes we view it as it, so it's either like we're trying to sell them on the church,
Mhm.
or we're trying to be like a Bible college level professor.
Ah. Uh-huh.
And what I gotta do, I've either gotta sell them on the church, or I've gotta inundate them with enough information
Mhm.
that they recognize that this is
Mhm.
right and this is
Mhm.
true, and so then they've gotta do that. And that both of those extract out
Mm.
the joy and the excitement and all of that of
Mm.
what it means to experience the transformation of Jesus. The tour. So I want you to talk a little bit about, when we talk about being a kingdom tour guide, I want you to talk about, like, what are we what are we talking about practically? Like, what does that really mean? And what does that look like for a person? So we don't want, we're saying, like, God didn't call us to be church salespeople to grow
Mhm.
the church. God didn't call us just to be lecturers, although the information can be important and it can be intriguing. A lot of what makes the information intriguing, like on the things that I remember. So like that, the you picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel,
Yeah.
whatever. That was kind of a funny little deal that you remember in the moment.
Yeah.
The things that I remember on like the tours we've been on, in Israel or in New York City, whatever, the things that are important to me in that moment, there's a lot of information that was thrown at us. I don't There's a lot of stuff about
Well,
Israel that I don't remember.
the bombing that went off that shook the windows when we were in that
Yeah,
restaurant in the northern part of bordering like Syria and
yeah, yeah. Those kinds of things are the things that you take away. And so I think that's one piece of being this kingdom tour guide. Garrett, I'll just mention this real quick, but I want you to talk about that, of like, what does it practically mean to mention about? I didn't want to go back to Garrett
dude,
Gotcher's
I was
comment.
that's how what that was gonna be my segue into what you just
Oh,
asked
go ahead
me.
then. Go ahead. Go do it. Go do it then. I won't steal it.
I mean, I'll have nothing left. I'm a one trick pony, bro. All I can do is read good
Whatever.
comments and comment on them. No, I mean, like Gary's saying, there's a mediator between two worlds. And I think that's so powerful. That the Bible says that Jesus is the mediator between God and men. And what's interesting to me is that when Jesus told the disciples, he sent them out on mission. He said, as the Father sent me, so send I you. And I think that's pretty cool in the sense that Jesus was like, as the Father sent me. And in some ways, we think about like Jesus coming to this world. And man, don't let me hurt anybody's theology here, right?
All right.
But I love what he said when he says, as ambassadors for Christ, we follow his examples of individuals that understand both cultures by experience
Yeah.
in order to properly show the better way. Okay, here's the
Yeah.
deal. The Bible does say Jesus learned obedience through the things which he suffered. Learned.
Mhm.
The Bible says that he being tempted, he was tempted in all points like as we are yet without sin. And the fact that he was tempted or tested or tried is able to succor or to give aid to
Yeah.
those who are tempted. I think it's interesting to note that Jesus, based on what Gary's talking about there, which I think is extremely insightful, is that the very reality of incarnation is that Jesus came as the apostle and high priest of our profession. An apostle represents God to men, a high priest represents men to God.
Yeah.
Jesus had to be born according to the under the law, according to the flesh. He had to be born into the human family as the last Adam to be able to experience what humans experience, to actually be that mediator.
Sure.
Jesus literally experienced life so that on the other side, he could ever live to make intercession for the saints.
Yeah.
How do you make intercession from somebody? Paul says, what things knoweth a man save the spirit of a man that's in him? How can you make intercession for someone if you don't, if you can't empathize with them?
Right.
Right. So
Right.
Jesus comes to this earth, experiences what we experience, and knows how to give us aid. He knows how to. This is so powerful. Jesus says, when the Spirit of truth has come, he'll lead you and guide you into all truth. On the other end of the spectrum, so in an intercessory way, as a high priest, he says, I know how to intercede on your behalf and present your petitions in such a way that it brings those things up as in ways that help you in ways that you don't even know. The Spirit makes intercession with groanings which cannot be uttered. Like you don't even know, but he knows. And
Sure.
so, I mean, like the Bible literally says that the Holy Spirit can literally pray through you. What is that? That's Jesus praying prayers on your behalf, using your will and your unconsciousness and your tongue, and through his Spirit, praying things that you don't even know to pray.
Hmm.
The Bible says we're weak. We're weak in the flesh. We're limited in knowledge, and we sometimes don't even know how to pray. But the Spirit makes intercession with groanings which cannot be uttered. How does he know that? How does he? Because he experienced it. And then he
Sure.
says he said, I've got many things to tell you, but you can't bear them. But when the Spirit of truth is come,
Yeah. Yeah. He'll do what?
he'll lead you and guide you into all truth.
Yeah.
So this is a work of Jesus having been here on this planet. And yet the Bible says, and this is, I think this is so powerful, as the Father
Mm.
sent me, so send I you. To do
Yeah.
what? To experience all these things and then be that person that stands between their world and the world that God's offering, and being able to say, let me help bridge that and lead you across this chasm into a place that God's offering all these amazing things.
Yeah, no, that's so good, man. I think that is such a huge piece of it. Again, the model's Jesus, and what did Jesus do? Jesus could have just declared here's what it is, go do it. But one of the things I love is you see particularly early on in the book of Acts, you see them kind of live out the experiences that they saw with Jesus, right? They, the lame man a lot is very much modeled after Jesus's experience with the lame man. So you see them kind of living out what they see modeled, not just what they hear,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so I think for a lot of people, again, the view and the expectation has been, well, my job is just to tell them. My job is just to tell them what they need to know, and then they
Mm.
they go do it. And in reality, again, going back to the first part of what we always talk about is, in order to be a disciple maker, in order to be a kingdom tour guide, you've got to first be a disciple. You have to be experiencing the transformation so that you can walk people along in your journey. This isn't, sometimes I think we view disciple making, Ken, as like the carnal version of mentoring, or like what the carnal mentoring looks
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
where like I'm the expert and I'm
Ah.
gonna show you,
Mhm.
this is how you need to do it.
Mhm.
When in reality, what it is more apprentice, where I just have some experience that you've not had. I'm engaged, I'm involved with it, I'm working, I'm on the job, I've been through carpentry school and I've gone through all of this kind of stuff. So let me show you. I just had a conversation, bro. I just had a conversation with well, was it you telling me this about what took me
Maybe.
20 years to learn? The guy showed him in 5 minutes?
Uh-uh.
No, so I think Aaron told me this. Our worship pastor, who works construction, and he said there was a deal they were doing the other day, and he said there was something that the guy had, had worked on it and worked on it, and he had developed a way to do this certain thing in carpentry. And he said, he showed me in 5 minutes. He said, I literally picked it up in 5 minutes, what took him 20 years to learn,
Isn't that crazy?
right? It wasn't sitting behind a lecture desk.
Yeah.
It wasn't him just going to class and telling him what to do. It was because this guy was doing the work, he was involved with it, and then he was able to pass on like, "Hey, look, let me show you something that's gonna make your life easier. Let me show you something that's gonna help you to become better at this," and whatever. We've all had experiences. I don't care who you are. If you're a follower of Jesus, we've all got experiences that we can show people how that he is the better. He's the
Mm.
better in every capacity. He's the better. His way is the better way for relationships. It's the better way for finances. It's the like whatever it is, you've got to have that experience so you can demonstrate it and show it to other people.
Mhm. Wow. Man, isn't that crazy? So, um, I think while you were saying that, the thing that dawned on me was that you can you can verbally communicate expert or experience,
Mhm.
but you cannot verbally transfer expertise.
Ooh, I like it.
I think that's the thing. Like you can say to someone, like, well, here's what it is, and here's what it says, and here's what the Bible says about it, and so on and so forth. Like you can verbally communicate information, but you cannot verbally communicate expertise. Expertise is something that you have to talk people through in real time.
Right. And there has to be interest, right, on the person that you're showing. Like,
Yeah.
there has to be an interest on that.
Yeah.
You can show somebody all day. He coulda showed me that trick for carpentry all day, and it probably wouldn't have meant anything to me because I'm not gonna do it. I'm not engaged in that on a daily basis. So there has to be interest on the person that you're showing.
Well, I had a guy, so I was working on a here's an perfect example. I was working on a floor
Okay.
and I thought I've laid floors before. When I lived in Houston, I worked with a guy that was a carpet installer or a flooring installer, and I've installed carpet and I've installed linoleum and I've installed all of ceramic and LVT, all of it. I'm gonna install this on in our house. Okay, so I started doing some research and I was going to use this. There's a system. It's called a Schluter system, and I wanted to put ceramic tile upstairs, and we have a basement. And for anybody who knows anything about this, they know that it's hard to put stuff on a wood floor because wood is something that expands and contracts. It's not completely rigid. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And
Mhm.
so the floor, when
Yeah.
you walk on it, it bends a little bit and stuff like that. And so the idea is this is why it's really difficult to put large scale ceramic tile or whatever on a wood subfloor.
Right.
And
Right.
so I did all this research and I realized, well, I'm going to use this Schluter system. And it's, basically what you do is you put some thin set down and you roll this stuff out. And it's like this orange waffle board looking stuff. And it has a vapor barrier and and all of this stuff. And it absorbs the contraction and whatever. And so basically any of that expansion and contraction, any of that bouncing in the floor, whatever is taken up by that Schluter layer. I'm like, that's amazing. Okay.
Right.
Go to do it, put the Schluter down, get it all on the floor. And all of a sudden I start looking at the angles and I'm like, I don't know where to start because I've got a hallway that runs this direction. Then it turns at a 30-degree angle. And then it turns at a 15-degree angle.
Hmm.
So here's the point. If you just start at, say, well, I'm just going to start down the hallway.
Yeah.
'Cause, okay, now it's gonna run at a 45-degree angle through your living room.
Yeah.
Well, that would look weird. Well, then
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it straight through the living room. Okay, now it's gonna run through a 45-degree angle in your hallway and a 30-degree angle in your kitchen.
Yeah.
Well, let's just lay it all in square to each room you're putting it in. Well, that's gonna look like you got your uncle, you know I'm not gonna use any names here.
Yes.
You know, he looks like you used your Uncle Doomafligy from, Timbuktu to come. He's like, "I can fix that." And
Right.
so I called a guy who is a flooring expert, and he came in and started measuring and creating showing me where the square was, and started drawing it out on the orange, that waffle board. He started drawing it out, and he started drawing lines, and he cross lines and stuff like that. And he said, "Okay, if we start here, it'll be square in this room, and it'll be square to that bank of cabinets. You won't see it because it's going to be at an angle on the other side of the cabinets." He's just going through this whole deal, and he was explaining, if you lay it like this, whatever. And
Yeah.
I was literally like, there's no possible way that I could have watched a YouTube,
Yeah.
because I couldn't have applied it into that situation.
Right.
I watched the
Right.
I watched the YouTube.
Man, that's a great point.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I watched
Yeah.
the YouTube to show me, this is what you need to do to lay a ceramic floor, and I had a certain amount of expertise. This is what you need to do. These are the technical details. This is how it here's how you can make it work.
Yeah.
Then I said, "Okay, but I don't know how to do it in my house."
Right.
And you could sit there and you could lecture somebody, you could give them all the information,
That's a great analogy.
but they're like, "Yeah, but here's the problem. My wife said this and my kids said that, and I don't and
I've got this, yeah, experience in my background, or I've done
Mhm.
this in my life. That's so good.
Yeah, yeah,
That's so good. And we've got so many people, right? Again, it's the information piece, right? And not that the information is wrong. The
yeah.
YouTube video would have been great. It would have been awesome.
Mhm.
But how do you practically apply it? And that's where the Kingdom Tour Guide piece is so amazing, because it's not just dispersion of information, it's sharing your story. It's asking the questions, what's important to them, sharing your testimony, and then helping them to see how the kingdom better,
Mhm,
the kingdom way is the better way
mhm.
for their life, regardless of what the variables are.
Yeah,
How do you apply that? And here's the deal, Ken. Anybody can do that.
yeah,
For that guy, he's clearly done that enough
yeah,
that it was nothing for him to figure that out. You would have spent days and days and days and would have ended up doing it wrong, and then you'd been frustrated and had to pull
yep,
it out and
yep.
redo it, whatever. He comes in however long and just does it because it's second nature to him. And here's what we have to understand. Like, I know sometimes we feel intimidated in this process, in this journey, but the reality is, if you've experienced the transformational power of Jesus at all, you don't have to be, you know, a master's degree student at a
Right.
Bible college to be able to explain. You can just be like, "Look, here's my experience. I've experienced this,
Yeah.
and this is how I applied the value system of the kingdom in this situation in my life. Let's figure out how to apply it in your life." If you can do that, bro, anybody can do that, and it's just showing them the better way of Jesus. I love that analogy. It's so good, man.
Well, and I think that for me, what's so powerful is it reminds me of how that, like I appreciate, like, he could have said, "Well, here's what you do,"
Mhm.
you know? I still wouldn't have been able to visualize it. I still wouldn't have been able to, just the application of it. I needed someone in my home
Yeah. Yeah.
saying, "Okay, here's what you do here. This is," and the cool thing about was, he walked me through. He didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
He walked me through and said, and then he left and
Yeah.
said, "I'll help you get the first few rows going. I can't stay, but I'll make sure that we get because here's what's so crazy." He said, "You can't just start anywhere." I said,
Yeah.
"Why?" He said, "Because your basement wall This is crazy. He said, where it really looks cool on the outside, the way the house turns and it, whatever. He said, your basement wall runs from your back door. It comes across this and forms the side of your living room.
Yeah.
That angle cuts an angle across through the middle of your kitchen.
Mm.
Your basement wall ends there, and you have crawl space the rest of you. So you have basement under the one part of your house, and you have crawl space under this part of your house. He said, and there's about a quarter of an inch height difference between that side of the wall and this side of the wall.
Hmm.
He said you couldn't see it when there's carpet, and you couldn't. He said because there was carpet and up to here, and there, whatever. And he said, and and it had certain type of like tile, and he said which is a little pliable, and so it's like what I'm saying, like LVT, whatever.
Yeah.
And he said, so what we're going to have to do is, he said, part of the reason why he chose running it the way he did, he said, first of all, it squares up with this wall, and it's going to be square going into your living room, number one. He said, but we can't run it crossways across that. He said, because that gap, he said, will break those tiles. You'll walk on them, and he said, every bit of that tile will break. He said, if we run the first row right on top of that wall, he said, then we can go off, because he said it's about the width of one of those tiles. He said, then we'll go out from there. I'll help you lay that first. He said, he helped me lay like 4 rows in each direction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he said, now from here, you can do the rest. Literally, there's the only way that I would have known that is for him to actually come in my house
Yeah.
and see that. He could have said, do this, do that. Here's
Yeah.
what you need to do. Here's how you
Yeah.
square it up. But the fact that he came in with me in my house, looked around and said, oh, you got a situation here that you don't even know about.
That's so good.
That's
so
what
good.
that's what Kingdom Tour guides are able to do. You may have somebody on an actual tour guide at, say, for example, the Grand Canyon, and the person's like, oh, this is a pretty rock. I'm going to look at this. I'm going to take a look at this rock a little more closely. And they go to lift up the rock, and he goes, stop. He said, do you hear that? And they're like, what? And he said, the rattle? What? Here. There's a rattlesnake. And they're like, what's a rattlesnake? And like, what's a rattlesnake? And I just think that that's the thing where doing life together
Yeah.
is what a Kingdom Tour guide's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that analogy. There's no way he could have given you the basic principles of laying that kind of floor with whatever, but he had to get into your house, see what was going on, and then show you
Yeah.
the principles of how this applies to your specific particular situation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. And then he checked back with me, by the way. He checked back and he said, hey, send me a picture as it goes along. He said, I want to make sure you're, doing it right. And like, cause I was going to end up past a wall.
Yeah.
He's like, if you do it right, you're not going to have to cut a strip, because your mold, floor mold and stuff like that's going to cover it up. So and he says it's going to be a small, and he's like, send me a picture. And then the next day he came over and he said, all right, I'm going to come over and make sure everything's looking good.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And, similar situation here. We've got Alfred, one of our disciple makers, and, had a single mom trying to figure out how she's going to provide for her family and all this kind of stuff, and had a home that needed a lot of work.
Yeah.
And Alfred does a lot of construction or whatever. He could have done it himself, just gone over and do it. But what he did was he went over and literally did that. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, we're going to show you how to paint the right way, how to lay floor, how to do electrical, how to do this, right? So the single mother who was restarting her whole life had nothing.
Yeah.
Because Alfred went over and showed her what to do and how to do it. She got on her feet. And today she owns several rental houses that she goes in and does the work. She goes in and does her own stuff, right? Why? Because somebody got in her world and said, hey, listen, I'm going to help you.
Yeah. I'm going to teach
show
you to fish. I'm not going to give you a fish.
Yeah. Yep.
And what's amazing is, see, we say, if you give a person a fish, if you teach them to fish. But here's the deal. But nobody teaches somebody how to fish. There's nobody on the planet that would think that that phrase means, if they didn't had never heard that before, that,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
colloquialism, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach him how to fish, you feed him for life. And they're like, there's not a person on the planet that's going to think that what your meaning is that you're going to sit down and give him a 12-week series on fishing.
Right.
There's
Right.
nobody, there's nobody that thinks that.
Right.
Everybody if you've never heard that before, knows that what you're saying is, hey, come with me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you how to fish. And you may have to go a few times. This is how you fish for this fish. This is how there's nothing biting here. This is why you leave. This is where you go. This is why
Timing,
time. Yeah, what
bait.
time of day? What kind of bait do you use? Blah 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 blah. And sometimes, like you could go through, like, that is overwhelming amount of information. If you try to sit down and lecture somebody I'm going to teach you how to fish. Well, what do you do? What do you do when you're fishing and it's really bright out?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Like, how are you going to? I mean, can you catch, like, if I use a worm, can I catch all the different kind of fish? Or it's like, no, you need to use minnows if you're going to fish for bass, or whatever. And you're like, what? Or, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, you could give somebody all that and a person may never start because they're like, I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I got all the information you gave me, and this is this lure. And we sat down and we even had a lure test. And we went through and said, what kind of lure is this? And why is this? And what's a spoon? And what's that? And what's a spinner? And what do they attract? And blah, 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 blah. And we did the test, and I went through the 12-week deal. I got a certificate.
Yeah.
I went through it, and I did a 12-week deal, and I've got a fisherman certificate.
Right.
But I went out the first time and I caught nothing. I went out the second time, I caught nothing. I said, this stuff doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden somebody comes out and says, well, let me see what you're doing. And they're like, oh, well, you're fishing for, what are you doing? You're fishing for, let's say, for example, you're fishing for crappie, and it's it's noon.
Yeah.
Well, what should I do? Well, we need to find some shade. Number one. Number two, let's fish for catfish because they're bottom feeders and the sun's not going to affect them because it's, whatever. And you're like, oh, wow. And so now there are these dynamics that affect fishing. There's the dynamics that affect how do you apply it and when and what does that look like and whatever. It's only done in real time. That's what I'm saying.
Only done in real time.
You can communicate information. You could verbally communicate information, but you can only give expertise by doing life with someone.
Man, that's so good. That's so good. And that's a huge key, right?
Yeah.
That's a huge key. It, I think this, and again, this is why, when we were trying to figure out, what does our identity look like, as we're doing this, is we want to help people.
Yeah.
And we settled on Mobilized because what we understood was in order to really do what Jesus has called us to do, you have to get you into their world.
Yep.
You can't do it from a distance. You can't tell, you can't tell your son, here, you stand on the shoreline and you just stand there and watch me fish. And then you do it, and then you go do it. Like, right? What do? You put the pole in his hands, you show him how to cast, you show him like all of that kind of stuff. In order for us, I think part of the big challenge, the reason we get frustrated often is because we've done it from an arm's length distance. We've been information communicators, or we've felt the responsibility is just, let's get them connected to the church and then I'm done.
Yeah.
But to truly experience the joy, you're talking earlier about like the whitewater raft tour guide or whatever. And I was thinking about the zip liner when I was out in Denver.
Yeah.
And dude, those guys were having the times of their life. How many times have they done that? But they loved watching people experience for the first time. It was one of the longest, fastest zip lines in the world.
Yeah.
And they love to watch people experience, the joys of of doing
Yeah.
that, and they would do it themselves, man, they had to catch you on the other side, so 2 of 'em would hook up, and then they would jump off, and they would
Oh,
do their things on the deal. Like, how many times have they done that? But they've enjoyed it. They didn't lose the joy of experiencing that, and they wanted other people to do that. That's what we need to have. We need to
mm,
experience that revitalization in us,
mhm, mhm,
and that comes from experiencing it ourselves
mhm,
and engaging people in the process with them,
mm,
watching them go through it, not just being, the information dispenser or just the connector to the church and then let the church take it from here.
hmm.
So,
What percentage of joy do you think that those guys would have if they were just simply zipline lecturers?
yeah, if they showed you the video and then said, "Here's the equipment, go do it."
Yeah.
First of all, I ain't doing it. I'd
No, no,
that
no. I'm not
bruh,
taking your dumb class and then get out on the longest, fastest zip line and not do
no
it right. No,
chance.
you coming out here with me on that platform, make sure, am I hooked up good?
Yep.
And then he's like, "No, you're hooked up good." And I'm like, "No, get that other dude over here." Did he hook me up right? Yeah, you're hooked up right. Okay.
Right, right.
You know? And I
Yeah,
but here's what's so funny is they're not gonna get if I did that, they're not gonna be offended, whatever. They'll be like, "Oh, I love it, man." I mean, okay, yeah, right?
yeah,
Cool. I mean, and dude's not just gonna be like, "Just shut up, I hooked you up, okay?" And then push you off the side.
right.
It's like, "No, go ahead, come on, we're gonna." And I think that's so what you just said was like the joy of watching, the joy of like it's so weird, like you watch these videos of these people taking like their grandson or granddaughter out for the first time to go fishing, and all of a sudden they pull in this fish, and they're like, I watched a video the other day. It was kind of like somebody caught this like 8-pound bass on like a Zebco little
Yeah,
Mickey Mouse rod and reel type thing or whatever. And the kid was like, "I don't know if I can do this." And he's like, "You can do this. Just keep reeling." And he's like, I think it's gonna break. And he's like, "Don't let it break." And he's like, and he was just like telling the kid, and
yeah,
he had the net in the water.
yeah.
And he was like as vested in the whole thing and
So awesome.
whatever. And he pulls it out, he gets it in the net, and they start jumping and they're dancing together. And the little kid he's like, "I did it. I really did it." And he's like, "Yes, you did, buddy. You just caught a bigger bass than I've ever caught. My God, that's amazing." And they're taking a picture. And I'm like, wow.
That's
That's
awesome.
fishing disciple making right there, bro. He was more excited of like helping his grandson catch this 8-pound bass with this fake little G. He was just like,
Yeah,
come on, buddy. You could come fishing with me, sure, whatever. And the
yeah.
kid landed one, and all of a sudden it was game on. And it was like, oh, this is now a lifelong fishing partnership.
Absolutely, man. That's so awesome. Just the last little thing when we did the zip line deal, my wife is an adventure seeker. She loves
Uh-huh.
adventure,
Yep.
and so he said, "Whatever you do on this super long one, don't do this or you may not make it across." So you know exactly what my wife did.
Yeah.
The moment she jumped off, she did exactly what she wasn't supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so he was kinda yelling at her, whatever, and and she just thought it was hysterical, and so he gets done and she goes, "Look, you'd have done the same thing," and he started laughing, he goes, "Yeah, I know, I would have done it, it's all good, no worries." So, like, the joy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Here you've got somebody doing something that does not, doesn't do what you tell them to do, but they enjoy the process of,
Yeah.
like, seeing people grow. He's like and
Yeah.
he's like, "That's awesome, that's great. Now don't do that again,"
Yeah,
but that
yeah.
was,
We're gonna pull you back up to the platform. We're gonna do it over. Don't do it again, ding-a-ling.
don't do it again.
How crazy is it? Like if, but here's the deal though. But everybody has to know what the relationship is. Everybody has to know,
Yeah,
like they're doing this so that we could come out and have fun. I'm
yeah,
out here to have fun. What would happen if we had disciples and disciple makers who said, "Look, we're out here for you to make it to heaven.
yeah.
We're going to have fun and we're going to have joy along the way. But look, if you're going to have victory, you're
Yes.
going to have to stop doing some of that dumb stuff."
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. That's so good. Well, man, this has been a good conversation. I love the analogies. I love those practical,
Yeah.
ways of describing, and I think it's something you can really easily grab a hold of. We had a lot of great comments today, and we were getting some feedback that there may have been some, challenges on YouTube today, and we certainly apologize for that. Everything on our end seems to be working well, so it may have been a YouTube situation. So apologize for that, but do appreciate everybody hanging with us and being with us today in this conversation. Appreciate the feedback, man. A lot of
Phew,
great
so
comments. We
good.
didn't like there was a lot of great ones coming in. We didn't get a chance to get to all of them, but we
Yeah.
certainly appreciate all of that being a part of the discussion, conversation with Nayat. So thanks for being a part today. We look forward to coming back to you next Tuesday around 10 o'clock.